welcome to Must Play. My name is Mark Santomartino, and this is your weekly dose of everything gaming, film, and entertainment. Frankly, anything we want to talk about. Sitting to my left is the man who's more excited for the arrival of Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 than his second child, Julian Price. Hey, Jules.
Let's hope his wife is watching.
No, it's only half true.
Only half true. We'll count the half that works in our favour. And the man who loves wearing hats more than life itself, Ryan Mason. No one's going to hear that. Boys, it's been a huge week for us. Not only are we debuting our video for the first time, this podcast has become a vodcast, but it's been a huge week for our discussion points as well.
It definitely has, and I'm really excited. We have great new Star Wars update. So.
Great new Star Wars update.
Very exciting.
That's all we're getting? Just
Very
a little
exciting.
bit of a hint? Let's just say one of the fan favourites is coming back in a bizarre way. I don't know if we actually knew, or we thought this might happen, but not exactly how they were going to do it. And Meso.
I've got big news on the BR front, which is something I love, and that is EA looks like they're going to take on the juggernaut that is Fortnite. They're considering a free-to-play Battle Royale game, which EA is probably just going to riddle with microtransactions.
We'll discuss that a little bit later.
Yeah.
First, to some really brief updates in the news that we've heard throughout the week. First of all, Facebook has taken a big hit this week. The social media giant has suffered the biggest single-day loss on the American stock market in history. In just 24 hours, boys, there was $124 billion wiped off their value. That's in USD. In AUD, it's $168 million for everyone watching in our home country. $1 billion, I should say. And it's all because basically their user base wasn't expanding as fast as it has previously. All the investors thought, hold on a second, Facebook's not doing what it used to. But in my mind, everyone that wants Facebook is already on Facebook. So big news item of the week there. Nintendo isn't done selling us cardboard. They have announced their
Paper
brand...
Mache 2.
Paper Mache 2, sort of. It's actually Paper Mache 3. The Nintendo Labo has unveiled Variety Kit 2. It's all about transportation. So if you're a kid heading into Christmas, or you're a parent who wants to probably get their kid away from Fortnite and into doing something with their hands, they can build a steering wheel, they can build a joystick, they can build whatever you control the submarine with, and actually be a little bit more interactive in that way. And also Stranger Things 3 has been delayed, the third season. Are you a fan of Stranger Things, boys?
I am. So it's a bit of a shame because I've been hanging out, but alright, we'll have to wait a bit longer. Like we'd have to do with most things these days. So everything's freaking delayed.
I've got to get into it, I'll admit. I'm slow.
You're always seemingly slow on the uptake.
Yeah, I know.
So you haven't
No.
seen it? You haven't seen it?
Nah.
I thought did I just spoil everything for you before we spoke about this?
Yeah.
Damn it!
Good luck, Jules.
I thought everyone had seen Stranger Things.
No. Well, look, Netflix's vice president has come out and said it's going to be worth the wait. Basically, they did such a huge expansion for season 2 in terms of CGI and everything that the Duffer Brothers, who are the directors of Stranger Things, say that they want to make this one bigger and better again. So they need a little bit more time, which means it's probably going to drop somewhere around the middle of 2019. So not the biggest delay. Would have liked for it to have come around Halloween this year like the others have been. But unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a wait.
That's all right. That's nothing compared to the Game of Thrones waits.
No, I mean, I didn't even... When was the last Game of Thrones season on air?
Oh,
It was years. It
99.
feels... Yeah, solid 20 years. But the one we want to talk about first in detail, the one that Jules alluded to, is this brand new news about Star Wars Episode 9. It has been revealed that Carrie Fisher is coming back, Jules. Something that, given she unfortunately died last year of a heart attack, I believe it was.
Her out. I mean, I personally thought she would just be a mention in the opening crawl, and that would be it. But yeah, there's unreleased footage, and they're bringing her back from unused footage from The Force Awakens, which is going to be interesting.
There must just be stacks of it lying around to have her still as a live character.
You would think... I mean, I honestly was kind of hoping they'd go the CGI route. I know a lot of people were against that, but I thought at least it'll fit into the story.
Yeah, like I wonder if the story suffered because they got her saying a specific line. So
you've got stuff from 2 years ago. 3 years ago now. When did The Force Awakens come out? 2 years ago?
Three.
Yeah. And
But, it would
somehow...
have been shot 4 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And somehow they're going to construct an entire script around what she said in outtakes. So it must have been great stuff. But seemingly that's their plan. Now, God knows if they're going to do it with green screen or otherwise, how they're going to cut her out of one set and put her into another.
It's going to be weird because there's no scenes from The Force Awakens that we can think of where Rey has featured with
Leia.
With Leia, yeah.
It's,
Well, we'll leave that one up to J.J. Abrams, hey? He's the one that's going to have to piece this all together when it comes out later next year. Of course, Princess Leia, our favourite princess, isn't going to be the only returning face. Billy D. Williams is back as well. Of course, Lando Calrissian, after that sort of weird role that he played in Solo, where we don't know if he was dating that droid or what was going on.
Totally banging it.
What was going on there?
The droid was definitely into him. But we also have great news that Mark Hamill is coming back as well.
Force Ghost.
Ghost Hamill.
You would assume it's Ghost Hamill, but I mean, could he play something else? Or, I mean, what sort of role do you see him having, Jules, as our resident Star Wars fan with your Luke, I am your father jumper on, which is technically incorrect?
Yes. Don't give me crap on that. I guess he's got to be the Obi-Wan. He has to be the Obi-Wan to Luke, and Luke will be the Obi-Wan to Rey.
Yeah.
So it has to, or else
Yeah, I feel like Rey's
I'll
going to
be
get
a bit
visions.
upset about it, I think.
Yeah. Rey's going to get visions. She's going to walk into a cave and, gloomy music's going to play.
Or he just teleported down to the other side of the island and he's fine. He's just walking around, hanging out with Paul.
Still drinking that blue milk.
Oh, disgusting. Speaking of Mark Hamill, he did go on to Twitter, though, to chat about Carrie Fisher being back in the film. He has said, "It's bittersweet facing my final chapter without her. She's simply irreplaceable. I'm finding solace in the fact that she won't be replaced and would love the worldwide outpouring of affection from all those who loved her when they heard the news." That's been retweeted 56,000 times, so Star Wars fans seemingly happy. We'll see what actually happens when it hits the theatres at the end of next year, though, because we know that after the reception that The Last Jedi got, there are some mixed opinions about the new trilogy out there.
Yeah. And it says here Billy D. Williams is 81 years old.
81?
But I bet you he's still a stud. He's a lady killer. He's going to be good.
Says a man who knows nothing about Billy D. Williams, except for the fact that his name is Billy D.
Let's hope he's got some fresh metal on his arms. And
Yeah.
He oozes charisma. Out of the realm of film and into the realm of gaming, Meso, we know you are our huge... you're not a Fortnite player, but you're our Battle Royale expert. You love PUBG, and you love the idea, I suppose, behind Fortnite. You've won a match with our production assistant, Tim, here behind the camera.
Winners.
I know you've won a game of doubles, duos? What is it actually called?
Duos, Fortnite duos with no building because we don't know how to do it.
Well, that's a little bit too complicated. Look, we know that obviously Fortnite and PUBG they've really shaken the market up when it comes to multiplayer gaming online, largely because Fortnite is free. And so how the big guys in EA and Activision, who've put out things like Battlefront and Call of Duty for so long and just been able to charge $60 for, that's really going to change, if not this year, going into the future. And we actually got a bit of a glimpse into that with EA's CFO, Blake Jorgensen, I hope I'm saying that correctly. During an investor call today, he revealed that EA is really looking into this space, doesn't know whether it will be an existing IP like a Battlefield or potentially a Battlefront, but it's something that EA is heavily considering. Now, even though this is really just a look into the future, I wanted to ask, how do you think this is going to change what the big guys have to do? The arrival of Fortnite and PUBG on a global massive scale. Everyone knows what it is.
Yeah, they have to do it. Fortnite, the revenue Fortnite's pulling in is ridiculous for a free-to-play game, and their player base is huge just because anyone can just get it for free. So they've got to change the way they do it. I think gone are the days where you can just charge $60 for a game.
Can anyone just step up and just go, oh, I want to make billions of dollars too, I'll make a game?
No, it's going to be tough. I mean, there's heaps of BR games out there. There's Islands of Nine and Cuisine and Realm Royale and all those ones who are in the exact same market as the two big ones, but aren't doing as well. I mean, Realm Royale is doing not too bad, but...
That is the problem, though. If you're not the first, and obviously PUBG was really the first one to crack the mainstream, in my point of view, being somebody that doesn't play these games, but Fortnite has taken that and gone from strength to strength. I suppose if you're not the first ones, you really have to bank on that IP. So could you see it working for a Battlefield or a Call of Duty?
I think because they've got the brand behind them. They've got... COD always has a player base. They bring out a game every year and they're essentially the same thing every year, but they've got a huge player base. So I think it'll probably work for EA, and Treyarch I think is making the new Black Ops. So I think that's all right. It's hard for the newcomers, the guys who are out there with a brand new game and they don't have the backing of a big AAA label.
You touched on Black Ops, though. That's coming out this year with no single-player campaign.
Yeah.
It's going to have some form of Battle Royale mode, although I'm not sure we know all the details on it. So it's essentially multiplayer and zombies for $60.
Yeah.
Then you got to buy map packs. Then you got to buy weapon packs and all the rest. Do you think that's going to work this year, now that we know how big Fortnite is? I mean, I can't imagine my little cousins who are obsessed with Fortnite being able to go to their mum and being like, hey, can you pay $80 for this game when you've got one for free?
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing. I think Fortnite's player base is kids for that reason, because it is free and it's accessible to them, whereas $60 is too much for kids. So I think that's their player base. Like, you don't see many PUBG players playing Fortnite, I don't think. I think there's a bit of a separate gap there.
Yeah. But if they did add all the loot boxes in, the pay-to-play elements...
Yeah, I mean, PUBG's got the same thing at the moment. PUBG's $30, and at the moment they've got a season's pass that you have to pay for as well. So not only are you paying for the game, but you're paying for the pass as well. So they've got the double pay.
I'm kind of hoping that EA have learned their lesson a bit.
Yeah,
all the
let's hope
backlash they received from Battlefront.
Yeah, let's really hope so, because Battlefront just got slammed.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. I mean, EA is in a slightly different situation to Activision because, to me, Call of Duty is where the people who really want to do the perfect first-person shooter... Because, I mean, their controls are so tight. It's either Call of Duty or old school Counter-Strike on the PC.
And Call of Duty's been 60 frames on PlayStation from the get-go. It's the only game that does it on PlayStation.
Whereas EA obviously really muffed Battlefield 2. I feel like they came out of the gate horribly. They had Luke and Darth Vader and everyone else behind paywalls. Jules, this is your franchise. I mean, would you like to see Star Wars go free to play? Would you pay $15 every 3 months if you got the basic?
I just want to see a completely new Star Wars game. I just don't think it's worth... EA, just leave it alone. Handball it to someone else, please.
Yeah, maybe that's probably true.
Not good news for you, EA. Just get out of the game. Don't worry about making any more video games. We're over you, all right?
No, Star Wars video games.
Stick to FIFA. And
I hope, going back to it though, I hope it's World War II themed. The free-to-play EA Battle Royale. That'll be cool.
Yeah, especially if it is in a real-life setting where we know a huge battle played out.
Yeah.
Even if it was something like 50 on 50 or... you felt like you were in a genuine war zone, even if it was just one kill and you're out, like it is similar to the Battle Royale games. I reckon that would be something quite appealing.
Yeah, and Fortnite does 50v50, and it is pretty fun. It's not bad at all, but they sort of do it. It's not on all the time.
Now, Fortnite has been widely successful, not just on PC, on console, but also on mobile phones.
Yep.
Now, if I had to give my 5-year-old cousin my mobile phone to play Fortnite on, I wouldn't want my screen to be broken, which is what I'm imagining is going to happen as soon as he dies and throws it across the room.
Yeah, he gets shotgunned.
Yeah, which is great because, that's why I'm so excited about this news, which is that Samsung has put up a very stilted, very terrible video displaying how their new OLED screens are completely unbreakable. Now, I don't know if you have ever broken a phone screen, but these things are ridiculously expensive to fix. So I don't know. I mean, do you welcome this or do you just have to be careful?
As if.
What do you mean, as if?
Surely it's breakable. Someone's going to break
be a way to break it.
Someone's going to put it in a microwave and go, proved you wrong. Where's my warranty?
I accidentally dropped it into the microwave and pressed 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It fell out of my pocket while I was skydiving, and unfortunately it hit the ground at max velocity. Well, apparently this is the test they've put it through. So they did 26 drops from a 1.2 meter height, which is that pocket height? How high is a person's hip?
Not if you're me.
Tim's trying to point at his chest.
Maybe.
That's not 1.2 metres.
Yeah.
Not your nipple. Either. And they also did a 1.8 metre drop as well as freezing tests to negative 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So they've put this thing through the ringer. I would like to stress that it's one of the worst videos I've ever seen. So if you want to go and watch
it's like it's filmed on a broken phone.
Yeah, a woman from South Korea with a rubber mallet just bashing on a screen incessantly for 2 minutes. It's great viewing.
We'll put it on the website.
Yeah, we'll put it on the website. Because I'll never forget, I just bought my brand new Samsung and I had done a bunch of ironing and I didn't have a case on it at the moment because you don't want to sully the perfect glass on both sides. You're like, this is a new piece of tech. I want it to look flash as possible. But of course, I put it on top of my chinos, which I just ironed, and it slipped right off the top. What are you laughing at my chinos for?
There's no.
I'm in the middle of a story here. So slipped.
You're just painting such a picture, Mark.
I'm trying to be, more visual for the audio listeners. But it slipped right off the top landed off the chinos and landed face down. You know when it just makes that horrible? There's no bounce. There's nothing. It perfectly lands. Yeah. Just a slight crack.
Yep.
Nothing's working. And of course, because it was a brand new phone, I think it cost me $760 to replace the screen. And I knew the guy in the store. So I felt like I got a mate rate discount. So,
Price of a new phone, isn't it?
yeah, it is. So look, admittedly, if they can find a way to make these things a little bit more durable, I'm all for that. And one thing I quickly wanted to touch on is just the fact that Windows has announced this, I suppose Microsoft has announced that Windows 10 is going to update in a much more friendly way. So no longer will you be stuck trying to, you know...
It honestly couldn't be worse than what it is currently, so...
Well, I feel like it's always when I'm in the middle of doing something super important or I need to do something, it's like, we need to restart right now.
And everything you've got plugged into your computer will no longer work.
I know. It's an absolute nightmare, but basically they're using new software which can analyze the way you use your computer. So it basically picks up when you're maybe on lunch or you're finished for the day and starts the update then, which is both creepy and super convenient at the same time.
Do you still have to approve the update?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
I've
actually
been
rolled out
clicking
yet.
It reads
Remind
the
me
terms and
tomorrow
conditions.
for my Mac. I reckon I've asked it to remind me tomorrow for the last year.
Sounds about right. And then when you finally do update, it takes 3 days.
Yeah.
Then way too much time. That's the news that caught our eye this week. We typically discuss now what we've been playing for the week, but of course, we are in the middle of the winter lull, at least the winter lull for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, the summer lull if you're in the States or in Europe. So I wanted to ask, gentlemen, last week we touched on our greatest gaming achievements, which I thought was sensational. I mean, just hearing that Meso got to 120 stars is...
I don't know if it can top the AFL Live.
Yeah, whenever you got an achievement in any AFL Live game, it needs to be said.
Yeah.
So we
Play
wanted-
base of 20.
We wanted to bring... Hey, I'm still claiming that number one in the world. Regardless of how many other people there are, that counts. It's basically how everybody that plays badminton feels, in my opinion. But we wanted to discuss some of the most disappointing games.
Just lost all our followers.
Yeah, unfortunately. Apologies to everyone who plays badminton out there.
Troll him. He's on Twitter.
Technically, it was the first sport that came to my mind, so that's worth something. The first lame sport. Anyway, I wanted to ask you this week, gentlemen, the games that disappointed you most. We're taking a negative angle. Last week was very positive. What was a game you were really looking forward to or got caught up in the hype, and when you finally got it in your hands, it just wasn't what you expected? Meso, I think you've got the one that has resonated across the board for the past couple of years.
Well, it's having a bit of resurgence at the moment too, but mine's definitely No Man's Sky. That was the hype around that, what it could do, how you could meet other players and planets and all this sort of
And just
stuff.
the idea of randomly generated species as well. And
And I
whatever
ran out to the shop and got it, and then 2 hours in, it's the worst interface I've ever seen. The animals, some of them don't even look like animals. It's just like...
Well, couldn't you get ones
Like
with...
when you plug different arms into a doll and it's like that, you're like, oh, this is terrible.
I know. I didn't pick it up myself. I was excited for it. I thought it's showing at E3 was incredible.
Yeah,
at least the potential was incredible. When
Yeah,
it's
just the flying off the planet
Yeah.
into space just was great.
when it's a rehearsed demo, you can make anything
Yeah.
look amazing. But in practice, I waited for the reviews, and I think it was getting 6s or even 5s. Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was
I
just-
didn't pick it up.
But in saying that, though, it's just had an update. It's called No Man's Sky Next, which is apparently a fair bit better. I haven't got my hands on it yet because I'm not over
But it's
it.
free. It's a free update.
It's a free
So if
update.
you already have
Free
the game.
update if you've already owned the game. So if you've owned the game and you've thrown it away, get it back out.
I think
I was that shattered. I haven't downloaded it. I'm like, I'll just keep waiting. Just keep waiting.
The funny thing, at least...
I just want free. Remember the game Freelancer?
No. What is that?
It's essentially No Man's Sky. Very similar. Not as
It's a bit more technical.
a bit more technical. That's basically what I wanted out of No Man's Sky, but it's a little bit short. Anyway,
Well, I didn't pick it up initially. No Man's Sky Next looks interesting.
Yeah.
Not sold on it yet.
Looks
I
better.
might wait for a price drop, although I don't think it's going for too much at the moment. Anyway, and I think one thing that's really interesting about it too is just the simple fact that you can actually meet other players out in the world now, which is something that was promised but never delivered on.
and
the
it's
initial
fairly buggy too.
Okay.
Meeting the other player is a little bit buggy, but I think it's in the top 5 in Steam at the moment, so it's having a bit of a resurgence. But
Well, at least it's a little bit of extra cash for the developer to maybe
Yeah, I
keep
know.
chipping away and get the game we were promised. Jules, how about yourself?
I'm going back a bit. South Park, Nintendo 64.
You found that disappointing.
I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
South Park was at its peak
yeah,
when
it
this
was
game
peak
came
South
out.
Park,
And
yeah.
I mean, I was still a bit young, but I was into South Park. I mean, what?
I remember renting
wasn't.
that from Blockbuster. I don't know how I convinced my mum to allow a 6-year-old me to rent that from Blockbuster.
No, I got it from Video Easy.
Another classic.
But I rented it and returned it 2 hours later.
Did you get it back?
I just picked a different game.
Wow, 2 hours.
Yeah.
You got to factor in travel time to the store as
remember
well.
that.
You've put in
It's 5 minutes
15
on the
minutes.
road.
I remember that dancing ray gun. It was weak.
Oh,
it was a
everything
weak
was
game.
bad.
Yeah, it was a
Nothing
weak
on the
game.
stick of truth, as well as the fractured butthole, which is
Yeah.
you got to
But
be very
even-
careful how you say that.
Even the fractured butthole, I still think wasn't as good as stick of truth.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Stick of truth was great.
Yeah. Stick of
Tim,
truth
don't
was
hold
good.
it in. Just laugh as loud as you want, mate. I mean, I've got to say, I don't buy too many games that I eventually find disappointing because I'm one of those people that will wait for the review. Unless I'm 100% sold on a game, I can't think to any game recently that I've bought where I've been disappointed so much as... Like, I've never gone through The Witcher 3 and I've never gone through Metal Gear Solid 5. Not because I can't acknowledge they're great games, but just because getting into them, it's such a time sink that I'm a bit...
You really have to commit.
You got to
to a
sink a
game like
lot
The
of
Witcher
time
3.
into those too. You got to sink a lot of time in them.
Conversely, one I really tried with recently on the Nintendo Switch was Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm not a huge JRPG guy, Japanese role-playing game. I'm loving Octopath Traveler at the moment, but this... even for me, was just way too in-depth. It's way too weird. The storyline is all over the place. Didn't like the art style. Didn't necessarily look great on the Nintendo Switch either, at least when you're playing in handheld. I thought it was pretty choppy. So, I mean, for me personally, I know that's a much more recent game than South Park 64. But on the whole, I feel like that one was probably the most disappointing game that I've had in recent memory.
Yeah.
Never played it?
Never played it.
Don't have a thought?
Never played it. It's quite a series though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the third or fourth game
Yeah.
between the first one and X, which was the one that had all the mechs and stuff. This is the third go at it, and I know they pumped it out quickly because they wanted a big JRPG on the Switch in the first year. But by the same time, you kind of want it to be good. And even though it got great reviews, that's what I found a little bit disappointing. Of course, you can generally catch up on our opinions, not just in this vodcast show, whatever we're going to call this beast that we've created now, gentlemen, but at mustplay.net.au. So in terms of reviews, we put everything up there. We put little bits of news as well. This is going to be up there, so make sure you head along to mustplay.net.au. Let us know what you're playing this week, what your most disappointing game in recent memory or as far back as the Nintendo 64 was by leaving us a comment or sending us an email. Of course, no matter where you're watching this, we would love a rate, a like, a subscribe, a 5 stars, a thumbs up.
Please.
You don't have to make it sound so desperate, Jules. Anything that you could possibly do, we would love that. Get the word of this show out. I'm Mark Sanamatino, once more joined by Julian Price and Ryan Mason. Thanks for listening and watching.